All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of Snap Material. We are doing this episode in celebration of the Superblog Team Up, which is celebrating 60 years of Avengers and X-Men. Of course, with me this evening is Evan Bevins, as always. How you doing, Evan? You ready to play? You ready to talk Marvel Snap, Avengers and X-Men tonight?
Yes, I am.
Just real quick, to cover some bases here, just in case you're checking this show out as part of the Superblog Team Up, I want to give you an idea of what Marvel Snap is, and Evan, feel free to hop in here. Essentially, it is a mobile card game called Marvel Snap that features Marvel characters. You play normally six turns, and there are 3 locations. You need to try and win with the powers combined of your cards or the special effects that help your powers out 2 of the 3 locations. And if you do so, then you win the game. Games can be very, very quick, sometimes lasting less than 5 minutes. Let's just say it's very accessible and fun to play. And a lot of combinations out there. Your decks can be, I think your decks are up to 12 cards, possibly more if you got Thanos in there, but decks are usually up to 12 cards that you start out with. And when we play tonight, we will be doing what they call friendly battle, where Evan will send me a code. We both have a team. And like I said previously, we played Avengers versus X-Men in a friendly battle. This time, we're going to do a little something different. But to go back to the friendly battle, we each start out with what, 8? Is it 8 or 10? I can't remember.
10.
10 hit points?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just call them cubes, but yeah.
Sounds good. So we each got 10 cubes. You can snap in the middle of these things and increase your cube count that's on the line. Essentially, it's going to start out with, I think, 2 cubes at the end of our first match. And so what that means is that I'm going to lose cubes, basically, if I lose. And if once I get down to 0, consider cubes hit points. Once I get down to 0, I'm done. And the amount can potentially increase as we reach like 5 games. I think the amount starts to increase.
The starting amount does. The maximum you can risk is 8.
Right. So it can happen
both of us snap.
Right.
So it starts out at 1. If nobody snaps, the final score is 2. If one person snaps, the final score would be 4. If both of us snap, the final score would be 8. But if I can just tell that Jesse's going to crush me, I can retreat and only lose 1 cube if nobody's snapped yet. So
right.
That doesn't happen very often, Jesse.
No. So there you go. That's the idea behind Marvel Snap. And what's going to make this fun tonight is you can set up themes of decks and battle each other. Evan and I, like I said, we did Avengers versus X-Men prior to this.
We did the most recent one was Cosmic versus Street Level.
That's right.
And then we did an experimental Agatha versus Agatha matchup. The Agatha Harkness card is very powerful, but in order to access that power, you have to let Agatha, with all the personality of Catherine Hahn from WandaVision, control your deck.
Yeah.
Unless you figure out a way to remove her.
Which Evan did and won that battle.
I wasn't trying to bring that up.
Yeah, sure. We gotta talk about 60 years of Avengers and X-Men though. This is a great
been around for all of them.
No, me either. Unfortunately, I have not. I've been around for a little bit, but not that long.
Hey, thanks to the libraries and Marvel Unlimited and stuff like that, you can read a good chunk of that at a reasonable or non-existent price.
Yeah, man. I mean,
and
these are that's right. These are 2 teams that have been Marvel mainstays for quite a long time. So if you talk about Marvel, whether it be cinematic universe or comic book universe, you're going to probably run into a mention of these teams in some way. A lot of the characters that you know and love have been a part of one of these teams in some way. Let's talk about our personal history with both of these teams before we get into our battle tonight. So let me start. I mean, let's start with Avengers for me.
Okay.
So, personally, when I was first collecting comics, so I mean, when I say collecting comics, I think some of the first comics that I ever bought were like spectacular Spider-Man.
Mm.
Maybe some G.I. Joe. I don't know. I was pretty young, but I never really picked up hardly any Avengers comics, even through the 90s. Anybody who's listened to me talk on this show, Unspoken Issues, whatever, they know that I was a mutant guy. I was the guy picking up most of the X books or something that was related to the X books in some way. I was usually gravitating towards there. And the Avengers in the 90s, a lot of people will tell you that there's probably, you could take it or leave it. Although there are some very good stories. I think did Avengers Forever come out in like the late 90s? Really good story. And I had not read that until probably 2000. My goodness, I want to say it's 2011, 2012. I got it from the library and sat down and read it.
And that's not to be confused with the current revival of Avengers Forever, which introduces multiversal torture porn.
Oh, no.
To the Marvel landscape.
Oh, no.
I mean, there's good stuff in it, but wait, didn't I complain about this on the last episode? Okay.
I just saw this in the wiki. In 2021, a new Avengers Forever series was released following the character Ghost Rider.
Tony Stark is Ant-Man, so that's kind of interesting. And then alternate Black Panther, who goes through about 6 different superhero identities in one issue, but then there's that second issue, which is just a venomized Red Skull torturing Ghost Rider for 20 pages.
Ah, boo. Well, I missed out a lot on the Avengers. I can remember one Avengers story that I read. All I remember is like there's a big A on the top. It's like the last story.
Oh, the last Avengers story? It's got like a pretty rough-looking Hank Pym painted on the cover.
Yeah, and it looks like everything is destroyed. And I remember this is not, that is exactly what's going on here. Buddy Dave, Golden Age Dave, way back in the old source material archives. Anyway, Golden Age Dave was a comic book collector too. Met him at OU. We became fast friends just because we both had a big love for comics. He was the guy that was collecting Avengers. And I remember him handing this to me. And this is a Marvel Alternaverse. I remember that story. It's really good. Of course, I'm a What If guy. You are too. It's a decent story. A lot of the characters from the Avengers, I mean, if I've read anything about them, they were usually popping up in some other book, like such as Blood Ties. It's me and Jordan Lowe.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that was in the Avengers jacket era.
Yes. Yeah. Then trying to think of some of the other Avengers things that I ran into when I was reading, and it's few and far between. Even Liefeld's Avengers, when Heroes Reborn happened, Liefeld's Avengers comes out, and I'm nowhere near it. And at that point, I hit the Image era, and then I was kind of getting out of comics a little bit for shortly after I got married. That was when the real penny pinching started. Mm-hmm. You get married, you get your own place, you got bills, you got all this stuff. So I wasn't buying comics very much at all. Liefeld, I think, took over Avengers. I want to say that was 98 too. I'll have to double check that. But if you listen,
that was in the wake of Onslaught.
So that would have been what, 97?
Let's say 95 or 96.
Again, it wasn't enough to get me back into the store, have me buying things. I started to gather a lot more respect for the Avengers when we had the Marvel Cinematic Universe come out. And when I say respect, what I really mean is that, I started to notice them more. I started to understand the importance of the Avengers. The Cinematic Universe hits, and I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to see all these, what they're building with Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, all these individual movies, and they're going to bring them together on one big screen. I'll tell you, Evan, there was this sense that as a comic book reader, my stepdad used to come into my room, Evan, and he would grab my comics and he would bend them in front of me. Not horribly, not like bending the spine, but just basically bend them, and he'd just tease me, You and I probably both know the sting of being stigmatized as the comic book guy when you're at school. I mean, you didn't get much. The girls, the cheerleaders weren't coming up to you asking you, how was that latest issue of Spider-Man? It just wasn't happening.
No, it was not.
Just wasn't happening. And then I got to sit with my stepdad and watch the Avengers. And it was the greatest feeling to know that this idea, this concept of comics, these characters coming to life on the big screen was one of the largest pop culture things that had happened in a very, very long time. So that was the day that I felt like, okay, I was vindicated for being a lover of this medium. The problem is that you'll hear a lot of people say that the love for the movies does not translate automatically right over to the love of comics, because nobody like rushed out and bought all these comics. That's the unfortunate part about this. But I guess in short, for myself, I was really blind to the Avengers up until probably the mid 2000s. Cinematic universe really helped that along. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I know the Avengers have a great storied history, especially in Marvel Comics. I'm just trying to catch up, folks. That's really all I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to throw it to you, Evan.
I think my introduction to the Avengers was actually from their West Coast branch. I have always liked the alternate versions of characters. I'll take Thunderstrike over Thor. Used to be, I found U.S. Agent more appealing than Captain America. Not so much now, though the costume's better. War Machine interested me more than Iron Man. And the West Coast Avengers caught my eye for whatever reason. That was the team led by Hawkeye. You had Iron Man, Wonder Man, Mockingbird, and Tigra, I believe. That was the original squad. Yeah, then I found an issue where Tiger was referring to the old school Avengers as the East Coast Avengers. And actually, for a while, a lot of the classic Avengers like Scarlet Witch and Vision were out on the West Coast version of the team. So I read that off and on for a while. It also had Moon Knight, inexplicably, but I mean, he's Moon Knight. Dude looks awesome. I got into some random Avengers stuff here and there, but I didn't really collect it until probably after Heroes Reborn, when Kurt Busiek and George Perez were on the book.
Okay.
And that I collected Busiek's entire run, kind of lost interest when Jeff Johns took over. And then ever since then, when something new happens with the Avengers, I'll check in and see if I'm interested. My brother and I got into Bendis's New Avengers, then eventually that ballooned into like 14 books, and kind of fell off there. Tried to get back in with Hickman, didn't give that much of a chance, but then I picked those up from the library, and leading into Secret Wars was a pretty big deal. They came out of that with Mark Waid writing it, so that brought me back on, but it didn't last too long, and that one became a victim of budget cuts. I may be missing some iteration. I tried Jason Aaron's because I liked a lot of other stuff he did, but again, that one didn't make the budgeting cut. Although I've been following it on Marvel Unlimited, generally like it, but like I said, it's especially with the Avengers Forever stuff, it's gotten a little dark. I'm kind of trying to finish that up before there's a new volume that just started. I think they've only got a couple issues out, but let's see who's writing it. Jed McKay, who I've enjoyed some of his stuff that he's done with, like Black Cat, of all things. Not necessarily a character that ever interested me, but I mean, his stuff's been fun. And I've read some other things of his, so I'm curious about that. But I'm also kind of wanting to finish up Aaron's run on Unlimited before I jump into that one. So yeah, I've always been kind of drawn to the offshoot versions of the teams and the more obscure characters. One of the issues, I don't think Hickman actually wrote this. I want to say it was Al Ewing, but there was a spinoff they did called Avengers World, because Avengers and New Avengers wasn't enough to contain it during the otherwise pretty forgettable Axis. Yeah, which I don't even think all their writers were on the same page as to how that worked. But there were some individual stories that were decent in it. And one of them involved Dr. Doom assembling a team of Avengers to bring Scott Lang's daughter back from the dead because he had killed her during an earlier storyline. And it was like Dr. Doom and Stingray and U.S. Agent and Elsa Bloodstone and Valeria Richards, just this weird group. So I grabbed that one. So yeah, I always check in with the Avengers, and I mean, it's basically a who's who of Marvel characters. We're going to talk about the X-Men a little bit. Sunspot never did anything for me till they put him in the Avengers, and Al Ewing got a hold of him. And if Al Ewing's writing Sunspot, I want to read Sunspot. Otherwise, I don't care. Still, I don't know why they put Cannonball and Sunspot on the Avengers, but suddenly Sunspot became one of my favorite Avengers. So, and then I would be remiss if I didn't mention that at least in one possible future timeline, Squirrel Girl leads the Avengers.
Oh my goodness!
As she should. She is a member. She was on some of those Al Ewing, Sunspot, New Avengers, U.S. Avenger teams.
Okay.
But eventually she's gonna be the chairman. Well deserved. But yeah, that's my, so a few runs, always keeping an eye on what they're doing. Outside of Kurt Busiek, never like all in on the Avengers. But and I did read. I should say I did go back and read when Marvel was putting out the Essential volumes. I read the first 2 or 3 volumes of that, and I mean the Lee and Kirby Avengers. Newsflash: Stan Lee and Jack Kirby made good comics, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about our history with the X-Men. I'll go ahead and tell you right now. I'm fairly certain that the first X-Men comic that I bought off of the shelf is going to be X-Men 241.
Okay.
And we are in the throes of the Inferno storyline.
Watch out for those mailboxes. Just FYI, you can edit this out, but you ought to check out, I think it's on Hoopla now, the Dark Web crossover of Spider-Man and at the X-Men. Now, if you haven't read a lot of X-Men lately, you may wonder what the bleep is going on. But it's a big throwback to Inferno.
Oh, nice.
It's Ben Reilly and Madeline Pryor teaming up to get clone revenge.
Oh boy. Well, February of 1989, X-Men 241 was on the stands. Might have been a little bit earlier than that. May have been December of 88. So yeah, we're in the throes of Inferno at that point. Mark Silvestri is penciling X-Men. So at that point, I'm 11, 89. Yeah, I'm 10 going on 11. And I'm reading this stuff and it's blowing my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, these characters are just, they pop off the page. I was missing chunks. This was not a story you wanted to miss a whole lot of chunks out of. That's for sure. Because this was crossing over with New Mutants. And it goes through all the X books. We're talking X-Men. We're talking X-Factor. Excalibur, I think, was involved in this. If they were, it was very little, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Excalibur was involved.
So it's, and I know the rest of the Marvel Universe was touched on, because I remember reading Inferno Continues issues in Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, I should say.
I can tell you the extent of my contemporary Inferno reading, which was an issue of Fantastic Four where I think Graviton blew up a demonic mailbox. Like, that was it. It had the Inferno branding, but it was just like, hey, there's something weird going on. I'm going to go fight the Fantastic Four now. That's what I remember reading the Spider-Man books, and that was kind of like how Inferno was affecting everything. Like, of course, New York turned into this massive hellscape where inanimate objects came to life. And yeah, I remember a couple mailboxes in that one too. But anyway, so at that point when I'm reading X-Men, I'm like, wow, this is a neat comic. This is a neat concept. I knew what comic books were. Trust me, I'd had issues of Spider-Man and things like that before, but this was the first time I actually bought something off of the shelf and wanted to continue to read a title. And that's really what defined the late 80s and 90s for me, was Mutant Mayhem. I remember picking up like OHOTMU, official handbook of the Marvel Universe, and reading all of the I wanted to learn so much about Mr. Sinister, so much about Nastir, or whatever, however you say his name, because I was getting Tim. I was getting the update 89, and I wanted to read all these great entries for all these characters. That when you look at the X-Men, there's so many characters. It's hard to learn about every single character in their background unless you have that OHOTMU sitting there beside you. But yeah, so I tried as faithfully as I could to get consecutive issues of X-Men off the shelf. And every once in a while, I'd dive into X-Factor as well, grab what I could. I remember the X-Men, X-Factor annuals of Inferno. Or I know they weren't annuals. They were just double-sized, like, finale issues, if I remember right. But yeah, that continued through the whole adjectiveless X-Men era. Oh, yeah.
Jim Lee shows up. Jim Lee's first issue of X-Men. And I remember the cover plain as day. Havoc, why did you kill Storm? And Storm is, laying half dead, and Colossus is trying to pick up rubble off of her. That's Jim Lee's first X-Men comic.
That was issue 248.
248. Okay.
I was just looking it up on Unlimited, looking up, what was it, 241? That was your
Right.
first issue. See, I was scrolling through and I just saw that one. Why, Havoc? Why did you kill Storm? Yep.
There it is. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, there's Jim Lee's first X-Men comic. If you're continuing through with the X-Men at that point, and again, I fell off of the X-Men probably as we got more into the mid 90s, but you know, I Cable gets introduced into the, into the New Mutants. Deadpool's in there, and Cable ends up bringing along X-Force. I ended up dropping, I think, the X-Men comic, and I started picking up Cable and X-Man. Age of Apocalypse hits, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest storyline I've ever read. They dropped all the X books at that point and just started putting out all the. What a great concept, and what a great time to be alive. That
was awesome. The 5 times they've done it since then, less effective.
Yeah,
but Age of Apocalypse, yes,
it was. And I think I collected Cable for, my goodness, I want to say clear up till right before when I got married. Again, I hit that wall where I was like, okay, I got to stop with comics for a little bit. To kind of translate over into, it wasn't too long after I got married. I got married in 98. So a couple years later, we got the X-Men film that hits theaters. I was fairly pleased with it. I couldn't believe that, hey, we've got the X-Men that are on our live action X-Men on the screen.
Thematically faithful.
Yes, sir.
Didn't necessarily look, well, I mean, Hugh Jackman looks like Wolverine, but, didn't always look like it, but thematically, tonally, yes.
And I'd be remiss not to mention the X-Men cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my goodness, what a Saturday morning it was when that series debuted. I lived...
Actually did have a girl talk to me about that.
In 93, I ended up moving the outskirts of Marietta, and we only could pick up things with an antenna. So it was kind of like we were on top of Harmer Hill, well, good ways into Harmer Hill, actually, in Warren Township. But anyway, your channels were the 3, NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. So I guess that's 4. I think it was ABC we had a harder time picking up with the antenna, but Fox we could get pretty clear. So I was watching X-Files, I was watching Sliders, and Saturday mornings I'm watching X-Men. That was happening. But yeah, that came before the movie. The movie's hit, and I've enjoyed somewhat. They did kind of trail off as we started. They tried to adapt. If you would have told me that there was going to be a live action movie called, it was called Age of Apocalypse, right?
No, it just ended up being called Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, okay. But we did have Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right?
And then we did have the Dark Phoenix saga and Joss Whedon's Cure storyline shoehorned into X-Men 3. But you know what? X-Men 3 gets a pass for me because Kelsey Grammer said, "Oh, my stars and garters," as the Beast, as it was meant to be delivered. So every problem I have with that movie melted away.
Goes away. And of course, right now we are on the precipice of Deadpool 3. And
unfortunately,
I don't understand what you're upset about, but Wolverine, again, being played by Hugh Jackman. Everybody thought he was done after Logan. So this concept, the X-Men, 60 years ago, still something that is just nestled into pop culture to this day. I'm going to turn it over to you, Evan Bevins. Tell me about the X-Men.
Well, my first introduction to the X-Men was from a Saturday morning cartoon, but it was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Oh, okay.
Because Firestar was a mutant, and there was an episode where she went back and visited the X-Men. Wolverine must have been in there, but Cyclops was the dude that jumped out at me. I don't know why. That visor just looked cool. And so then, when I was working on my blog entry for the Super Blog Team Up, I had to go back and kind of retrace my steps. I think the X-Men, the Avengers, most of Marvel Comics was introduced to me through Marvel Saga number 8.
Okay.
But the first exclusively X-Men comic that I remember getting, the earliest one, is Classic X-Men 14, which reprints their first journey to the Shi'ar homeworld with Phoenix and trying to stop the Imkron crystal from destroying the universe. And then it was, I'm not sure what order, it was either Incredible Hulk number 337 or X-Factor number 32. that was when X Factor was masquerading as mutant hunters, so they could go help mutants in trouble. And some guy saw the Hulk turn into Bruce Banner and called him and said, "Hey, I think there's a mutant in town." And they ended up tangling with the Hulk. And then X Factor number 32, I will try not to go on and on about it. It's one of my favorite comics ever. Got it signed by Tom DeFalco, even though it's in pieces practically. I've read it so much. And it's actually X Factor fighting the Avengers, except it's just some aliens pretending to be the Avengers, but I love it. Just one of my favorite comics ever. Just pure crazy action fun. And I got some X-Men stuff here and there, but I wasn't really collecting X-Men until I decided I was going to get rich by buying all the issues of the Executioner song.
Oh boy.
Although that plan fell apart pretty quickly because I'm like, well, I can't leave it in the poly bag. I need to read it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was really curious if you left it in the poly bag.
No, and even if I did, I've seen poly-bagged issues in dollar bins, so that's a bit disheartening.
not too hard to pick up now.
I mean, those specific issues, poly-bagged with card. But after that, I started reading X Factor because Peter David was writing it, and they had weirdos like Strong Guy and Multiple Man. Like, take your Wolverine. I want the guy with the massive torso and the dude that cracks bad jokes and makes copies of himself. And then for some reason I picked Uncanny X-Men, and I won't wax poetic about that because that Uncanny 297 is the subject of my Superblog team-up entry that literally changed the way I look at comics. And then gradually I just started picking up each issue. They had a great bait and switch cover on Adjectiveless X-Men where the team was facing off against a billowing purple cape and it said, "Guess who's back?" And I'm like, "Oh, Magneto." No, it was just Psylocke's old body.
What a bait and switch.
Yeah, but it worked. I read Uncanny and X-Men until just before Grant Morrison and Joe Casey came on. At that point, I tapped out, but then they brought Scott Lobdell in to do a great finale called Dream's End. And then, I love Grant Morrison stuff on JLA. I had read Joe Casey's pitch for X-Men in an issue of Wizard a couple years before. I'm like, oh, I'd like to see what he did. And after a couple months, I was like, nah, I'm done. I know a lot of people like Morrison's X-Men. I did go back and read it. I might read it again sometime, but it just basically I was getting 2 X-Men comics a month, and I was in a worse mood after reading them than when I sat down with them. I'm like, why am I paying people money to irritate me? Doesn't mean they were bad, just wasn't for me. And so, I dropped in on it from time to time, but it wasn't until, and I know he's a problem, and he wasn't a nice guy then, we just didn't know it, but when Joss Whedon wrote Astonishing X-Men, I'm sorry, I loved it. That brought me back for a while, and then, just bursts here and there, Wolverine and the X-Men, where Wolverine restarted the school because Cyclops was a little too extreme for his tastes. Just that was a great concept. That was Jason Aaron. Really enjoyed that. And then when House of X and Powers of X hit a couple years ago, I was curious about that. And I mean, it's what I like about it is it's not the status quo. There's a lot of stuff I don't like about it. There's been some great stuff to come out of it. There's been some terrible stuff to come out of it, and there's been some mediocre stuff to come out of it. But then our mutual friend Chris Sheehan started his show X-Lapse, going through every issue, and thanks to Marvel Unlimited and Hoopla, I was able to follow along, and I'm still reading it. Although I don't know, I'm thinking of stepping off of Deadpool. It's just not working for me.
Oh, bummer.
Some people, I don't dislike Deadpool. I just dislike what some people do with him.
Okay.
I've read good Deadpool content. It's not a problem with the character, with the concept of the character anyway. But so yeah, I'm reading it now. That era looks like it's going to be drawn to a close. Kind of curious how that goes, but not necessarily looking forward to it because I feel like it'll be more like X-Men comics, some of which have been great, some of which have not been that we've gotten, a lot.
Yeah.
So the movies, yeah, I mean, X-Men, the original X-Men movie was where people finally figured out that, yeah, just because something's from a comic book doesn't mean it's bad.
That's
Doesn't
right.
now there have been plenty of bad comic book movies that came after. There have been some not so great X-Men movies, but that one was the one that, and for a while people thought, well, if it's from a comic, it's going to make us $1 billion. And that's not true either. But X-Men moved it from, the occasional oddity to, it's like, hey, these are stories just like other stories.
Right.
So, I am curious to see how they bring them into the Marvel Universe. Just wish it wasn't with an R-rated Deadpool movie.
Oh, boy. Well,
hey, you want to play some Snap?
I do, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I think it's time to play some Snap, ladies and gentlemen. Marvel Snap. It is going to be... Can't do Avengers and X-Men. We've already done it. So what was the thought here, Evan? What are we doing?
Well, now, one possibility, when we did that, you floated the idea of just making a deck using the cards of the characters as they chronologically joined the teams, which would have been kind of interesting. But like I said, I always like offshoot versions, and I said, or we could do this, and you said, let's do that. So since we've already had Avengers versus X-Men, we're going to go with my introduction to the Avengers, the West Coast Avengers, versus probably your favorite flavor of X-Team, X-Force.
That's right.
So the decks are made up of anybody who has been a member of those teams, and I thought I was going to have to bend the rules a little bit, but maybe put Spider-Woman, even though it wasn't that Spider-Woman. But I went over to Comic Vine and was reminded of a couple core Avengers who joined the team, stalwarts like Spider-Ham and the Living Tribunal. Very important West Coast Avengers. No, everybody in this deck is a verified member of the West Coast Avengers, whether you like it or not.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I will cite my sources if need be.
Okay.
But I am getting ready to send you a code if you're ready. I say we just do like we've done in the past and reveal them as we play. That way you just won't see my brilliant strategy coming until it's too late. By brilliant strategy, I mean I have no strategy. So if I win, it will be a happy accident.
So to kind of give you an idea.
A comic accurate accident.
That's right. That's right. For a few, I took them out. But for a few moments, I had the Thing and Venom in my deck.
Look, that one cover from the Rob Liefeld Anniversary X-Force thing does not make the Thing a member of the team.
He is, according to Comic Vine, he was a part of the X-Force due to some type of multiversal team that they put together. There was Venom Pool and the Thing. As to how they got in there, I haven't read it. And I thought you could be right about that, but I would argue that it would have to be Venom Pool, or at least the Venomized variant of the Deadpool card. That's where I was like, okay, I'm going to step back. I wasn't going to put I had them in there for quite a bit, and they worked well too. I just want to tell you, with what I have, it worked awesome. At least, well, the Thing, he was just the Thing. But Venom was great in this deck. I took him out.
And keep in mind, this is any iteration of the West Coast Avengers. So from the originals that did bring in a lot of longtime Avengers and then extended reserve status to some people that I had to do a double take when George Perez included them in the Avengers relaunch. Even the more recent one that featured Hawkeye, who was part of the original team, and Gwenpool, who sadly does not have a Snap card yet, but it's only a matter of time.
All right, here we go. Battle started. Oh, we got some Fisk Tower going on here in our first location.
All right. And I'm playing a card that I remember as being a guest star, but Comic Vine says they joined the team.
All right, let's see what you got here.
Mantis, and you didn't play anything, so that does me no good except giving me 2 points, which I will take.
All right. Core member coming out right here. Body slide by 1, Evan.
Oh, Strife?
Yeah, Strife. That's exactly right, Strife.
Meanwhile, I've got Quicksilver, who I also didn't remember was on the team, and Ant-Man, and that one was a bit of a stretch. Hank Pym was a core member of the West Coast Avengers. That looks more like a Scott Lang, but that's the only Pym I've got here.
Okay.
Unless they've made a variant of Ultron as Hank Pym, which is a thing.
Our second location was Shuri's Lab. I don't know if we mentioned that or not.
We did not. Now we got the Pet Mansion,
which is going to require us to lay something out here. So Cable went over and talked America Chavez into coming over and helping out the X-Force. She's now a member of X-Force, just to let you know.
Well, and now I know which card you pulled from my deck.
I think Cable's always going to be the bottom. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I will always
I got to play somebody. Okay, here we go. Playing Scarlet Witch at the Pet Mansion.
Oh, changing things up. And now we have the Hellfire Club. Not a good day for one-cost mutants.
Although I think all my one-cost cards were already drawn in my hand, so I don't like my options here. If I do that, that's gonna happen. All right. Well, let's just see how it goes. You ready for this?
I want to see what happens.
All right. Coming to Fisk Tower, the Wasp.
She should have got her power doubled.
And no, she didn't get her power doubled, but Bishop and Domino got their powers doubled in Shuri's lab.
That's right. Right now, current score is I'm winning Fisk Tower 2-1, winning Shuri's lab 9-2, and I'm losing Hellfire Club 1-6. There's a big battle going on at Hellfire Club. Quicksilver's involved, Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man facing off against my Psylocke.
All right, Wolf's Bane at Shuri's lab.
Oh, okay. I can handle that.
It doubles the bonus.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's the Vision at Shuri's lab.
Oh no, that's a 14-point mover right there, folks. Vision, gosh.
And I'm gonna snap.
All right, here it goes. I'm letting you have this. This is for 4 cubes. Final turn. Oh,
America Chavez at the Hellfire Club.
Oh, come on. Oh,
come on! I forgot.
Oh,
what
that's right.
Does.
Yes.
This doesn't work for me. Oh man, I outsmarted myself. Well, I wasn't going to win anyway. So I put Iron Man at the Hellfire Club, doubled that up, but I moved Vision to Fisk Tower, and Wilson Fisk doesn't take kindly to visitors.
He does not.
So I lose Fisk Tower 3-1. I lose Shuri's Lab 22-2, and I win the Hellfire Club 18-12.
Wow. All right, I'm ready.
If only they wrote down the abilities of the locations.
Shades of what happened on the first turn of our very last game that we played.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the outcome of this will be similar to that too.
All right. So our first location, the hub, gives us each a random card. And I got an interesting random card here. You're never going to see it
on the hub. Ooh. And I played Quicksilver in the White Hot Room.
Ooh.
Which the first one of us to fill that will get an extra 3 energy per turn.
Per turn for the rest of the game. Oh, great. Oh,
Jesse's got one card. I've got the Wasp and Ant-Man and Quicksilver.
You're going to have so much energy. Oh, there's a dream dimension. You're going to need it.
Filled up the White Hot Room. Thought about putting Scarlet Witch there, but I thought I might lose my extra energy. So I put Manus there, and hey, you were kind enough to play a card.
Yeah.
Let's see, do I get... Oh, I draw a card from your deck. It's not just a copy.
Right, yeah, you get...
So I won't tell you what card I got, but you won't be stealing any cards from my deck this time.
All right.
I'll tell you that much.
Let's go. So we got 4 here.
So I'm winning the White Hot Room 9-4. You got Bishop and Forge there. I've got the powerful quartet of Quicksilver, Wasp, Ant-Man, and Mantis. Be a force to be reckoned with in the comics. And Snap, not so much.
Not so much.
But I do have 7 energy this turn, while you've only got 4, so...
Our third location being Nidavellir gives each of our cards 5 power, and that can get interesting. Oh, crap. Here comes
I got Vision and Scarlet Witch there, and hey, there's Cable.
And you're taking stuff off the bottom of my deck. All right, then.
Yeah, so I stole Cable from your deck, and then I stole another card from your deck with Cable. You've got Omega Red, who is really useful if you're winning by 10, but I don't think he does anything if you're losing by 10. So, and then I've got Cable with 2 and your Sunspot with 0 at the hub.
Huh. Stupid Vision.
There's Nimrod, my random card. And Colossus on Nidavellir. And there's his old buddy Wolverine.
Fastball special.
Colossus, apparently another card I stole from you. Never been a West Coast Avenger. Was a defender for a minute. What to do here? Believe it or not, I don't have enough energy to do what I want to.
Let's see what's going to happen here.
I should probably retreat, but...
Ooh. Well, there's America Chavez.
Yeah, not enough. You're going to win that one.
Could not be...
but you didn't push Bishop over the top. I moved Vision from Nidavellir to the hub, and...
Oh, you beat me by 10! Oh!
Beat you by 3.
By...
Well, when you factor in the total, so...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I moved Vision from Nidavellir to the hub and replaced him there with America Chavez, which bumped me up to 30, but Jesse, using Wolfsbane's bonus, +2 for each character at the location, +5 for Nidavellir, gave him the win there, 37 to 30. Bishop gets a +1 every time you play a card, so that made the White Hot Room a tie at 9, but I moved Vision to the hub with Nimrod and Cable to give me 15, and Jesse had 5 there with the addition of Deathlock, who I do remember as a member of X-Force.
Yes, good. All right, Sokovia shows up. We each
removed Mantis for me and Psylocke for you.
Okay, it's the end of my first turn.
But this deck will never run out of 1-cost cards. Oh, good. So I played Hawkeye on the second location, which was revealed as Vormir, and to get Hawkeye's bonus, I have to play a card there, and the first card I play there is destroyed.
Well...
Unless...
Oh, no.
That would have been more effective if you had already played your card and I could just say which card it is.
I know what it's going to be. Frickin'
Scarlet Witch. Change the location to Nova Roma. Draw a card.
Okay. All right. Well, at least we get a card back from Sokovia taking one from us.
And you've got Domino at Sokovia up 3-0, 6-0 at the newly revealed Nova Roma, and now the third location is the sewer system. Cards there have -1 power. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
All right, so I'll play Quicksilver at Sokovia, thematically correct anyway.
He's going to die there.
Cable and Sunspot arrive in the sewer system. You steal a card. The sewer system steals your points.
Lo and behold, it's America Chavez yet again.
Oh, yeah.
One more time.
Maybe should have thought about that, since it would be hard to have an X-Force deck without Cable.
It would.
But here's one of your alleged X-Forcers right now. The Thing, who was a reserve member of the West Coast Avengers. And Omega Red arrives in the sewer system, and even though you've got 3 cards and I've only got 1, I'm up 5-4 there.
Yeah, freaking sewer system. I said stay away from the sewer system. Okay, Omega Red's hanging out over there.
Colossus there, and he got boosted 2 points by Forge and can't have his reduced, and I'm still winning 11-10 because I've got Vision there.
Where's Vision going to move to? Don't be moving him anywhere.
Okay.
Oh, you had to, didn't you? Okay. All right. Ant-Man comes out.
Wasp and Ant-Man give me Nova Roma, and Moon Knight, my favorite West Coast Avenger.
Yes!
There he goes.
All right.
Putting nobody at Nova Roma gave Warpath his +5 and gives you the win at Sokovia over Quicksilver and Moon Knight. And then you still had 2 points left over to give to Sunspot to beat me out by 1 point in the sewer system.
All right. There we go.
So I'm down to 4 cubes. You've still got 8.
I don't mind that.
It just gives you farther to fall.
Oh, all right. First location up. Mirror Dimension on turn 4. Transform into one of the other locations. Please be good locations.
I got Quicksilver in the middle. You didn't put anybody out. I'm your island.
Oh, that's helpful.
+1 every turn.
That is helpful.
Now these 3 always end up on the same location. Ant-Man, Quicksilver, and Wasp. But at least they'll get some bonus points. So I'm up 7-3 since you added Wolverine there. The Superflow.
Superflow showing up here,
Jesse
giving each of us
the Superflow.
Yes, sir. +1 energy each turn. That is going to help out tremendously. I honestly don't know if I want to play over there on the left-hand side either, in case that becomes a Superflow.
Yeah.
So, all right then.
I added the Thing to fill up your island, and you've got Omega Red, but you don't have his bonus.
I will never have the bonus. Oh, there it is. We got 2 Superflows in this game right now.
We have achieved double Superflow.
Double Superflow. Well,
that's not the super-powered version of the lady from the Progressive ads. Enjoy your 2 Superflows.
I will. Oh, no. Come on.
Scarlet Witch took one away. Oh, we've got the Sacred Timeline. I could explain what it does, but who cares? Have you ever used the Sacred Timeline effectively?
I remember being so excited when it first showed up.
No offense to the developers. It was an awesome idea. I love that it exists, but it's just not practical.
So right now, Muir Island is one hot contested location with each of us having 4 there and each getting a point, one power each turn. Right now, you've got 24, I've got 19. So I've got to try and boost that thing up enough somehow. And Bishop is in there to do this, but
I played Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch at the Sacred Timeline, so I had to play somebody else there to boost Hawkeye up to a 3. That's Mandus. You played some cards. And I played Iron Man, so I'm sitting at 16 with a full Sacred Timeline.
All Right.
And you've got Warpath with his bonus because you didn't put anything on the Superflow. Now you kind of have to put something on the Superflow. Well, I guess you don't have to. No, I guess you don't have to.
I'm not going to.
No, I guess you don't.
I don't.
But I do. I might not have a better opportunity. I'm going to snap.
Ah!
I either win or I lose.
You didn't need to do
I
that.
either survive or I lose.
You didn't need to do that.
Well,
this is going to be a crazy game.
But can I hang on Muir Island? That's the question.
That is the question.
Because you don't have enough to get the win with Bishop alone.
Cable comes out.
That's going to give you 27, but I'm going to hang on at Muir Island.
Yes, you are.
And you win the Sacred Timeline, but I win the Superflow with America Chavez, Quicksilver, and Wasp. Quicksilver and Wasp, who I got for filling up the Sacred Timeline. So thank you, Sacred Timeline. So that puts us back on even footing with 4 cubes each.
Oh, the stakes are higher, ladies and gentlemen. We are at 2 cubes right off the bat.
Because it's getting tired of Jesse and I forgetting to snap.
Hey, there's your favorite first location, Evan.
Yeah. Hey, guess who's not going to be arriving at Fisk Tower unannounced?
Oh, man.
Look, just because I forget the abilities of the Kingpin, a.k.a. Wilson Fisk, and the location named for him that has the same ability, you don't need to be rude about it.
Oh, man. Sokovia shows up as our second location. You lost Moon Knight while I lost Bishop. So
I don't mind Bishop being off the table for you. Now, am I overreacting to Fisk Tower right now? Maybe a little. Or maybe I'm just having some insurance because Scarlet Witch has changed it to Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, boy.
So each draw a 1-cost card, and there is no shortage of those in my deck. Let me assure you.
Oh, Dream Dimension.
Dream Dimension. All right. Oh, thanks for playing in Sokovia. Mantis appreciates it.
Freaking Mantis.
Take a card out of your deck. Yeah.
Forge coming in, boosting up Sunspot to 2 real quick. So Dream Dimension, let everybody know, on turn 5, cards cost 1 more. That's why we hate it.
Indeed we do. Okay. Here's Deathlock. I dropped him in the Dream Dimension. You got Warpath and Sokovia with his bonus since you don't have anybody in the Dream Dimension. Everybody costs a little bit more, so... Hey, there's Omega Red, and he's still not going to get his bonus.
Here's the thing.
But you are winning at that location.
14-16. Final turn.
So you're winning 4-3 at Hell's Kitchen, 16-14 in Sokovia, and I've got Dream Dimension 5-0. Oh, did you snap?
I did not. We're at double.
It's just the high stakes. So this is it. Okay.
This is it.
All right. Wolfsbane and Sokovia securing your victory there, and Cable and Hell's Kitchen, and that's nice. But I've got America Chavez.
Oh, but I've got 1 more power and Omega Red. Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
Dumb luck because I was like, why is he playing on Sokovia? He's already won it.
I should have played Cable over on Dream Dimension. I would have had that game.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a tough loss that was. So Hell's Kitchen, Evan beats me 12-10 there. Sokovia, again, that was a battle for the ages right there. You had Ant-Man, Quicksilver, Mantis, and the Thing, while I had Sunspot, Warpath, Omega Red, and Wolfsbane. I went at 24-14, which is enough to give Omega Red his bonus, which is if you're ahead by 10, you can add 4 to all the other locations. The only problem is that Dream Dimension, I had nobody there, and he had Deathlock, which he stole from my team, right?
Yeah, with Mantis.
Steals Deathlock from me and uses it on that location, and I lose the location 5-4. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is another win in the books for Evan Bevins.
You haven't snapped my winning streak. And you know who I didn't get to bring out because we were stealing cards from each other's decks so much?
Who?
Reserve West Coast Avenger Darkhawk.
Oh, wow.
Because your deck was always pretty depleted by the time
Yeah, well, shoot.
He's 0 points, but he gets 2 points for every card in your deck. But I was stealing cards out of your deck, and sadly, neither Rockslide nor Korg were ever members of the West Coast Avengers.
Oh, man.
Although, had Kevin Feige asked, I would have pitched Korg as a member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe West Coast Avengers.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
And I frankly still want a movie where Korg and Luis from Ant-Man and Darcy from Thor go on a road trip.
Deathlock, you traitor. Well, there it is. We have completed our entry into the Super Blog Team Up celebrating 60 years of Avengers and X-Men. So, Evan Bevins, we're going to go ahead and get into plugs, man. I know you're doing something for the Super Blog Team Up, so why don't you let the people know what's going on there and where else they can find you on the internet?
Well, *51.blogspot.com. You will hear my thoughts on Uncanny X-Men 297, which is, again, just one of the landmark comics in my collecting and reading days. You know, I read it. It still holds up for the most part. It was a nice reread it. It was a nice blast from the past, contrast with what's going on with the X-Men today. So check that out and check out all the other Super Blog Team Up entries. It's a fun thing we do, even if some members leave vomiting gifs as replies when I'm just trying to tie in with the excitement around the Barbie movie. There's been some Barbie comics. I have daughters. I have a couple Barbie comics, you know. But yeah, I posted a review-ish of the 2017 Paper Cuts Free Comic Book Day Barbie issue for my occasional feature, Free Comic Friday, because I got to do something with all those Free Comic Book Day issues I've hoarded over the years. And you can, check out my Super Blog Team Up entry, and then this weekend I should be entering the home stretch on my reread of Stan Lee's Just Imagine series for DC, where he, with some of the top artists of the early 21st century, puts a new spin on DC's characters.
All right. Very good. Well, as for myself, I have one more entry I'm actually going to do. If I can pull this off, I'm committed. I'm going to do a little solo cast, source material episode for the Super Blog Team Up called Ultron versus Nimrod, an AI perspective. So,
no offense, Jesse, this is a bad idea.
This comes to me today as I'm sitting there. I found the glorious / infamous ChatGPT probably about a couple weeks ago, and have really leaned into like making it somewhat a part of my podcast in any way that I can. So I've already fed it. It's already been fed. It's growing as we speak. I've already fed all of the Marvel fandom entries for both Ultron and Nimrod. It's in there, and then we're going to ask the AI some opinions, and it's going to be fun. First off, what I was like, oh, well, we got to figure out who would win in a fight. And trust me, AI has opinions, because I've asked it before who would win in a fight between Superman and Wolverine, and I've got an answer. AI did a great job. So ChatGPT will be joining me.
You need AI to tell you that?
Believe it or not, it was a very interesting answer. So
Jesse, I just got to say that feeding an artificial intelligence a how-to manual from two of the deadliest AIs in the Marvel Universe, I mean, this is the stuff horror movies are made of.
I cannot wait.
Or at least wacky Disney Channel romps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. All right. So anyway, look forward to that. That's going to be hopefully one great addition here to the Super Blog Team Up as well. So the easiest thing to do would be go to Twitter and type in #SBTU, and you're going to be able to find just about any entry, present or past, for the Super Blog Team Up, and read some. Get out there and read every single one of them that you can find and interact with us. Send us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. So with that being said, that's Evan Bevins over there. I'm Jesse Starcher. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good one. Bye-bye.